Hello once again and welcome to Willow Talk. Adam Peacock with Brad Haddin for a chat about all things cricket. Hads, how's your week been?
Mate, it's been good.
School holidays, not stressing you out?
School holidays. Kids have been good. They've been busy. I made a trip down to Canberra yesterday. Talk more about that later.
With the kids to see the science
bit
museum?
of work.
Okay. What could that entail, I wonder?
But
Canberra looking for a Big Bash franchise. Brad Haddin going
let's
to
get
Canberra.
to the running sheet here. That is not on your sheet, but it was a busy day last couple of days in Canberra.
Yeah.
And kids are well.
Bet it was, yeah. I'm good, yeah. Kids are here, there and everywhere, so it's great. Like ferrying them around. One's just arrived back in the country again, and another one's going to go in a couple of weeks, and they're at that age really where they're adults.
They control us.
Yeah, but we're still having to fund them being adults. That little crossover.
My old man reckons that doesn't change.
Oh, no. Really? Sammy, can we go to 5 episodes of Willow Talk a week to pay for the next 10 years, please? No, there you go. That's life. I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to all of that. So hope you're enjoying the school holidays, if it's school holidays, wherever you're listening.
I've had some good feedback from Ask Hads.
Yes? Of course. We had an Ask Hads last week, didn't we? Or earlier this week, I should say. Yeah.
You know a lot of those people?
No? I swear. I didn't know we were doing Ask Hads until about 6 hours beforehand. Producer Sam organises all of that.
And if anyone wants an Ask Peacock, the votes will come in.
You listen back to the start of that episode. I open it up for you to ask me anything at the end, and you forgot about it and moved on.
I can't think that quick. I need a couple of, I've got to prepare.
Okay. Next, ask Hads and Heels when she's back. You can ask me. I don't know why anyone would care about
I care.
me answering
That's
questions.
the point.
Now, on today's episode, we're going to recap Australia's winning start at the Women's T20 World Cup.
Yep.
Perfect start. None of this stuff that the men have come up with in the last couple of World Cups and a few interesting things early on. No, they've got off to the perfect start, and hopefully it builds into something greater. We're going to look at the start of the Shield season, some big scores by some test hopefuls, some test outsiders, and one young man in particular that Brad Haddin has put on our radar here. If you're a Willow Talk listener, you wouldn't have been surprised by what one particular youngster came up with earlier this week. We've got a special chat with Ales Carey. He's obviously playing for South Australia at the moment. This was recorded well before he played for South Australia against New South Wales. Exactly, and if you're a wicketkeeper, this is a fascinating chat about how he goes about his business behind the stumps in terms of preparation, in terms of concentration, all those things associated with a keeper, stuff you know so well, Hads, but Alex's perspective on the art of wicketkeeping.
Yeah, and it's a great chat too, because the one thing Alex has done over the last couple of years, the series in India, he kept as well as any Australian keeper that's gone over there. The craftsmanship that was on show there was first class, and he's come a long way. He's got some pressure on him now with Josh Inglis, but he keeps doing everything right. He was out of the one-day setup. He got dropped at the World Cup, got an opportunity with illness, come in, performed outstanding. So the Australian selectors there have a headache, which is good. It's always good to have competitions, but I like Ales Carey, deserves everything he gets. He's a nice guy. He's a hard worker. And he loves every single minute of wearing the baggy green, which I love.
And I think what he loved about this chat is that I didn't mention the word Bairstow once. It was purely about everything to do with wicketkeeping, not potentially his most famous dismissal. So, no, that chat with Alex a bit later on, and we will get into deeper discussion about what now for the Australian top 6. Cam Green, Pete Lawler reporting on Wednesday that he is GAWN for the summer with a stress fracture. Yeah, it's not looking great.
Yeah,
the news isn't as hopeful as it once was. But and we've got Sundries a bit later on. So everything covered here on Willow Talk. And thank you if you've rated, reviewed, and followed Willow Talk on the Listener app, Apple, and Spotify. Cricket season, of course, officially underway. Clocks are forward, where we have the ability to put them forward. Lucky Queensland, WA. Enjoy those dark nights. Cricket
worry
season
about the cows.
officially underway. So give us a review and a rating and on the show, and so we can reach more cricket fans. Don't forget the Secret Cricket Club as well. Get involved with that, so you can ask questions for special guests that we've got coming up, and getting involved in whatever that producer Sam is come up with, and the club hats as well. Keep them coming to producer Sam. Send your club's hat into us, and we'll chuck it on our heads. He's gone nude nut today, Hads. He wanted a hat to wear. We just didn't have one to put in. But all the mailing details are in the episode notes. We're ready, willing, and able to wear your club's hat. So please do so. And next Monday, we've got a really good chat, Hads.
Yeah.
With a former Aussie fast bowler and international umpire, Paul Blocker Wilson. So, yeah.
Why?
Is that your one question?
I only need to know why you spent your whole career terrorising umpires.
Yeah.
Why now? Why do it?
One, and then become one. Exactly.
It'd be quite funny, I reckon, Blocker.
Very funny. Top guy and a lot of experience both as an umpire and as a cricketer as well. So that's a great chat coming your way early next week. But let's get into it, the headlines, and we'll start with a World Cup that's on right now, the Women's T20 World Cup over there in the Middle East. Australia, perfect start, Hads. 2 for 2. Game 1 against Sri Lanka last Saturday, won by 6 wickets with 34 balls to spare, comfortable. And Game 2, a real statement, I reckon, against New Zealand by 60 runs. Megan Shute, player of the match, both games, 3 for 12 in the first one, 3 for 3 against the Kiwis. She's now the leading wicket taker in Women's T20 World Cups, and a few good cameos with it. Not the big score, certainly not from the captain, Alyssa Healy, but getting it done.
Well, she can't do anything wrong in my eyes. I've never been more proud of her.
Do you want to get to that straight away, shall we?
Straight away.
Okay, here we go. So the story is, it's not the story, it actually happened. Alyssa Healy, standing behind the stumps, just decided to give Chamari Atapatu a bit of advice.
Help.
Yeah, help her along. She was facing Ash Gardner, 3 from 11, and Heels then belts out, play a shot, Chamari. Next ball, Chamari, big sweep, plumb in front. You're like a proud dad, aren't you? A proud big brother.
It actually brought a tear to all our eyes. But that's where people talk about gamesmanship and sledging. All you're trying to do is talk loud enough to get a reaction out of the opposition. And all Heels was doing there was she was just throwing out a line, hoping the batsman would hear and get a reaction out of her to do something different. And that's exactly what you got. It's not about trying to get under the batter's skin. It's not about being nasty to the opposition. It's trying to get a reaction out of the batsman. They're listening. So if they're listening to you, they're not concentrating on the next ball. And that was exactly what happened there. So never been more proud.
Is it impossible not to hear something like that as a batter?
It is. It's interesting because we've spoken a lot about it, where some guys you just do not say anything to because they turn on and you can't get them out for a week. Others you can see they're listening. And the conversation doesn't have to be directly at the batter. The conversation can be to first slip. I remember in New South Wales games, for example, when Stuart McGill was bowling, he had a great record in one-day cricket and would take a mid-wicket out and put into slip. And the slip would say to you, and it's all been planned, and say, mate, that's bad captaincy, Brad. Why would you move a mid-wicket out? That's easy runs there to Stuart McGill. I don't know why you're doing that. So I'll just leave it. Okay. And the batter tried to hit it through mid-wicket, big turn, stump and out. And they're the little moments, and that's all you're trying to do. You're trying to get the batsman to listen to what you're saying and react in the way that you want them to react. So, yeah, at times you don't hear. There's times when you hear about being in your own little world. Steve Smith does it as well as anyone.
Yeah.
I've seen him in times just in his own world. He's got his routine down packed. He's controlling the tempo of the game. And even talking to him in the middle, sometimes you look at him and you think, you know what? I'm just going to let you go because you got this game totally under control. I'm finding it a lot harder than you at the other end. So, and that's all the art of being able to get yourself in that space to perform. But, yeah, good work from Healy.
Very good work from Healy. What about the Australian? You can't really tell, and I don't know if these games, I say it's a perfect start. Is it the perfect start, or is there some kind of improvement required, particularly with the bat? It doesn't look like 200 is going to play 200 in too many of these games. No. Like 150 is a very, very competitive score on these decks. So does the team need to tighten up a bit with the batting, or you're okay with it?
Well, tournament play is about peaking at the right time. And if you look at the way the Australians are playing, like 60-run win against New Zealand lost 9 for 34. I heard them talking after game that they were disappointed with how many runs they got. Maybe could have got 160 and played them out of the game. But what they're doing is there's parts of the game that they're nailing. The opportunity with the ball there and the way they're in the field, they're creating the pressure you need to in big tournaments. But they're building. Yes, there's areas to improve with the bat, but that'll happen. That'll happen as the tournament naturally goes on. The big players will switch right on in that semi-final stage. And the one thing, no matter whether it's male or female, Australia pride themselves on peaking at the right time in tournament play. And this Australian women's team has been the best in the world at it. So, yes, they're playing some good cricket. Yes, there's areas that they'd like to improve, but they're going on exactly the way they need to.
Is it bat first conditions over there this time of year? Feels like the weather gets cooler over in the Middle East. It goes from 35 in the day to 33 in the day. When the sun's up, it's not too bad, but when the sun goes down, it gets a little different, does it not?
Well, it's interesting. There's a lot of factors that can come into that. Is dew going to play a factor? Do you need to bowl first to hold the ball? So they'll have staff members at different games and watching at different times and seeing if there's dew at the night time. And it's not just as simple as bat first all the time or bowl. Conditions will play a role. Teams they're playing against will play a role. So New Zealand, for example, might be a team that like to bat first and then be able to strangle and back their bowlers. And chasing here, they've lost 9 for 34. Maybe that'll be in their head next time. And Australia do bat first and put pressure on. But yeah, it's not as just simple as that. It's a lot will come into it, especially with the dew and what the wickets are doing later in the tournament.
Well, Australia just have so much depth with the ball. I mentioned their mega shoot with 6 wickets so far in the tournament. I mean, Ash Gardner was the only bowler not to take a wicket against New Zealand. Yep. Everyone else chipped in. So, I mean, and Ash is not going to go wicketless in many innings. So it's fantastic options at the disposal of our dear captain, our dear wonderful leader, who's gone up in the estimation of Brad Haddin after that particular conversation to Chamari Atapathu. So Australia's semi-final hopes needs just one more win in the 2 remaining games. Pakistan Saturday morning, 1 a.m. Eastern Time. India on Monday morning at 1 a.m. Eastern Time. Could actually knock India out with a win, and if New Zealand win both their remaining games, because India obviously dropped their first up game against New Zealand, which was a massive shock, especially to the TV schedulers in India, I dare say, for the knockout stages.
Well, there's a lot to play in these knockout stages. If Australia beat Pakistan, all of a sudden they're through, then do you give the remaining squad players a game? Or you go, hang on a minute, we're just starting to get rhythm. India, we actually don't want to come across them later in the tournament in the final stage. So do you go all out in that game to see if you can beat India? So they'll have some decisions that they'll need to make. New Zealand got to win their remainder games first to see that happen. I'd still like to see India in the finals. They're the best team. You want your best 4 teams playing.
So would India.
Yeah. So would their pockets, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, it's a long way to go in the tournament, but we're tracking the right way.
The other group, England top of their group, 2 from 2. I mentioned on a previous episode of Willow Talk that because it happened, they got beat by Ireland in a warm-up game. So they've got it right when the tournament's actually started. Speaking of peaking or going in the right direction when the tournament starts, England are doing that. South Africa beat West Indies, but South Africa lost to England. So the group could come down to net run rate if West Indies beat England next week. So not totally assured for England, but it's looking okay right there. So a bit to play for. We'll keep you updated with everything that's going on from the Women's T20 World Cup. We should, I don't know, get Heels to drop us a voice note or something like that. I mean, when we usually record, it's the middle of the night over there in Abu Dhabi and Dubai.
She'll be awake.
Potentially.
You can play night golf over there.
Starkey's over there as well.
Well, he'll be playing night golf. He deserves a break.
Golf, twilight golf, everything golf. Okay, let's get to the news of the last 24 hours, and it looks less and less likely that Cam Green's going to be playing Test cricket this summer, which is a huge blow for Australia, and it looks like the back ping that he had, or little alarm bell that got set off in the one-day series against England, is a big alarm bell. It's a big problem. It's a fire drill. Everyone out of the building. It's a back stress fracture, potentially. Yikes. Yuck.
Well, there's been a lot of discussion about Steve Smith, and we all feel that he's going to go to 4, and they had to find an opener. It's interesting with stress fractures because they're hard to diagnose, obviously, but is it a stress fracture where he's 6 months to do nothing, or is it one where you just have to build your bowling workload up and have X amount out of the game?
That was the initial thought, that he was just going to bat, and then by the end of the summer, Dan Braddock was reporting just before it went further with Pete Lawler that he was going to be able to do a 4-hour overspell in Test 4 and 5.
Yeah. Well, Australia take him as a bat. He's in our top 6 batters. The other thing he's a big loss with is in the gully.
Yes.
He's like you talk about his bowling, how intimidating he can be, and those overs that we missed, that puts a lot of pressure back on Mitch Marsh, who hasn't bowled a lot over the last few years. So, but he's catching the gully is a big loss as well. But there becomes a decision then: who's the next best batter, or who's the next best opener? With Steve Smith most likely to go to 4, they got the opportunity now to pick an out-and-out opening batter. So who's that?
Big for Cam Green in a wider sense for his career. So obviously he's at the age where he's not quite through the woods where these things pop up regularly. Remember Pat Cummins?
Yeah.
Famous case of
John
Pat
O.
Cummins. Pat did, I think it was 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And by the end, like the 3rd or 4th one, he told the story on a doco I did with him that he was one day fielding at fine leg and he just bent down to get the ball and it went, and he knew exactly what it meant. He meant before he'd even stood up straight, 6 months. He knew exactly the feeling, what it was. And I don't know if Cam went through this. Obviously, he hasn't publicly spoken, but all the cricket that he's had, and he had a really heavy workload at one point. I wonder if this, and hopefully not for his sake and his back balance, and his experiences in cricket, that it doesn't curtail things. But I think load management will be an extension of his name in the next 12 months.
Yeah, well, Australia have done well to try to manage Cam Green. They've pulled him out of one-day series, let him focus on test match cricket. He's gone to IPL, and it's hard to say no when you got $3.5 million in your pocket. But mate, your thoughts go out to him. He's a young cricketer. He wants to be playing in big series like India. It's 5 tests, and let's just hope he can play some part, whether that's at the bat or later in the series. You don't want to see a young kid in a marquee series, as much talent as he had, being ruled out for the year.
No, you wanted to see the battle if, say, for instance, Australia are 2 for not much and Bumrah has got his tail up. You want to see him try and navigate that situation. But unfortunately, this summer it might not happen. What does it do? You talk of the IPL, and certainly not forefront of our minds as Australian cricket fans, but for our Indian audience, what does it do, for instance, for Cam Green if his name's chucked in the auction and there's no guarantee that he'll be available for part, if not all, of the next IPL? With these new rules that you say you've got to put your hand up for it.
Yeah, well, we're knowing what IPL teams, how much they plan, that they would have made all the right phone calls to the right people. They spoke to his management. They would have spoke to different doctors that he's seen and physios to get an update. So IPL teams won't go in blind with Cameron Green.
Yeah, and that auction December, is it?
December.
Around that time, early Christmas present for everyone involved. So fingers crossed for Cam Green going forward. But we've had an interesting week, and we're recording this at the midpoint of a lot of these Shield games. So we don't have the whole story, but we've got enough of the story to make some judgments here or get some opinions. Firstly, your man, and I am calling him your man, Hads, because you've flagged this. Sam Konstas, 152, a very elegant, I must say, 152 at Cricket Central against South Australia on day 1 of the Shield match out there. What did you make of it?
Well, it's a class act, and you can't say my man. I've done a bit of research. Like Shane Watson's been enormous for Sam.
Yep.
He's mentored him all the way through. Stuart Clark, who's involved in his club team at Sutherland, said he's different. And what I've seen, he's like a Michael Clark coming through. You knew when guys like Clark and Ponting was the same, that these kids are different. They come and play a couple of games at their states, and all of a sudden they're in the in the national team, and this kid's no different. You watch the way he controls the tempo of the game. The other thing you watch with guys like Sam is everywhere they've gone, they've dominated. They've dominated kids cricket. They've dominated 19s level. They've dominated grade cricket. They've got hundreds in second 11. And now we're seeing how good he is. It'll be interesting to see if in the next 3 Shield games, he got 300s. What do you do?
What would you do?
Mate, he's New South Welshman. I know exactly what I'd do. But he's, what, 5 or 6 first-class games in?
We need an opener.
We do. Marcus Harris, Sam Whiteman, they're putting their name up. You got Nick Maddison.
And we're going to need another one within 24 months with Uzi as well. Yeah, it's a good time to be good.
Oh, yeah.
If you're an opener.
Well, I'll tell you the other opener that was interesting. Jake Fraser didn't get picked for South Australia.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know. Whether it was...
Because they got Carey at 5 and Head at 4.
So both of those guys obviously were allowed to come back from the summer in England and play. Mate, I'm throwing, especially with Head and Carey back, I'm throwing Jake up the top. Mate, you're playing... Some grounds you mightn't do it, but you're playing at Cricket Central, which has been a flat wicket. You got Nathan Lyon, experienced bowler for New South Wales, but you got an inexperienced seam attack. And I'm throwing him up the top and saying, mate, go for your life a couple of games. If it doesn't work, he goes back in the middle order when Carey and Head go. But I'd like to see these guys playing.
Just on that Sam Konstas story, just looping back to that quickly, you said the names Michael Clarke, Ricky Ponting. Now, I know you're not saying this guy is going to be Ricky Ponting and Michael Clarke, but at the same point in their respective careers, he's got similar looking attributes. So what is important for someone like this who's playing his 5th first-class match in the next 2 years? What does he need to do?
Keep dominating state cricket. Dominate state cricket. Win your state titles, and then the natural progression will happen. But the one thing he's doing, whatever level he goes to, he's dominating, which is a really, really good sign.
He's he mentioned after that ton that you mentioned Shane Watson, bit of a mentor for him and working closely, bit of meditation for Sam. I don't know too many. What is he, 19?
Yeah.
Too many 19-year-olds. Certainly, my 19-year-old doesn't meditate. He meditates in front of FIFA and plays his stupid freaking video game the whole time. That's how he relaxes.
Watto would be unbelievable for him because Watto's been through it all in his career. He doesn't get enough credit for how good an all-rounder he was in Test cricket, bat, bowl, and field. So, and Watto would be really good with the mental side of the game. Yeah, you can talk technically, gamesmanship and that, but what I'd be really good for him, just have a clear vision, understand your role, and it's important. It's important young kids like Sam, if they have the opportunity to attach themselves to a Shane Watson, and Watto is very, very generous with his time. He's done a great job with him. That is better than any net session you could do to have Shane Watson on speed dial. So, mate, well done to all of them.
And for Sam, he probably would have recognised this. When you're out there in a Shield match, you sometimes, because crowds, it's not exactly 30,000 people at the ground, Pat Cummins was standing there with his New South Wales jumper on, and George Bailey was there with his accreditation on. You're looking around.
100%.
You know exactly what's going on there?
100%. And you used to use that to your advantage. I remember when you know there's a test position up for grabs and a national selector would walk in, sometimes you'd say to the batter, he must be here to see you. Don't go into your shell because, mate, he's not here to watch me. And that can work both ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes the batter goes, I know, bang, 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 160. or the other time they freeze up and think, oh, no. But this kid's different.
From around the place as well, Marcus Harris piling up run. He can do this, Marcus Harris. Score some big tons, get some runs quickly. 143 against Tassie down there at, what is it, City Power Centre of Excellence Field, Junction Oval.
Junction Oval.
Yeah, Junction. Sammy Whiteman as well, another ton. He has scored so many runs in the last few seasons for WA. He's such a rock for them at the top.
Well, I tell you what's good about this one.
He was 2 for none.
Yeah, they lost 2 wickets in the first 2 balls of the season. So to get 102 and get your team to 300 over there in the West, and mate, that's It's a different knock. It's 237 balls, but he was under pressure. He had to get through. He had to knuckle down, play traditional opener's role, and then gradually building that in. So mate, he's a good cricketer, Sam Whiteman.
So Michael Nisa, 2 for none off 2 balls. How's that WA dressing room going after, like, okay, big preseason, boys, let's get this red ball thing done again.
Yeah.
Let's win another Shield. We've won about 18 in a row or whatever it is at the moment, feels like it. And then all of a sudden, 2 balls into the season, you got two of your mates stripping pads off and throwing them at the wall.
I tell you what it did show is why they're such a good team. They didn't panic.
Yeah.
They got 300 runs in the day. They've been the benchmark for some time, and they got so much trust in their group, and then that was on show. They lost 2 wickets. Other teams could have panicked and been 5 for 50, all out 120. All of a sudden, you're out of the game. But WA don't panic. Whiteman played a real captain's knock, and Josh Inglis.
122 off 117, 17 fours, 2 sixes. So the natural question after our Cam Green discussion is, can this guy get himself into the test team without having to put wicketkeeper gloves on?
Oh, you can. But I think his opportunity will come injury to Carey, or he can try to force Ales Carey up. But it's a good thing that he's doing numbers like this and not playing. I don't mind that. That he's hungry. He's doing good things around the game, and you like competition for spots, and you like if something did happen to Ales Carey, the natural progression is to come. You don't want to debate. You don't want to debate, what player's going to be next? Is it Jimmy Pearson? Is it Josh Inglis? Is it Philippi? Josh Inglis is saying, no. If something happens to the wicketkeeper, I am next in. That's the only phone call you have to make. And I like that.
Did you ever play in a team? I think you did in one days. Did you ever do it in a test match where there were two keepers?
No. I played one day cricket as a bat, and Josh Inglis has done the same. Never played test cricket. They at times they spoke about it, but our craft is the gloves. That's our number one job. Mate, we'd probably panic anyway.
England's done it with Bairstow, haven't they?
Yep.
He's been in the team without
but
necessarily having the gloves.
He's also gone times where he hasn't kept in first class cricket, where Josh Inglis's number one priority has always been the wicketkeeper.
Yeah, looking at their first class record, both average about 34, Carey and Inglis. So is 34 enough to get you a standalone bat? Not sure if they're better options, potentially, but he's in the frame just on, and we'll hear from Ales Carey shortly. What does that do when you've got noted pressure from the next best or the next in line?
It's great.
Does it make you? Does it depend on your character? Can it make you worry about things that you shouldn't be worrying about?
Well, if you're secure in your own game and you're doing everything you possibly can to, I know it's cliche, to be the best you can every day, and that's what Ales Carey does. He's been exceptional. The last Test match he played, he got Australia home in under pressure. Did he get 99? 98.
Yeah,
against New Zealand.
Pat nicked a century off him because he wasn't looking at the scoreboard.
Yeah,
in New Zealand.
So you don't. Yes, you know. It's obvious. You know what's going on behind you, but they've got to catch you. If you're in there and you're performing, no matter what sort of runs they put up, they're not going to take your spot.
We'll say that Pat did really well to help guide Australia home in that Test match and win the bloody thing, which you're meant to do. It's not all about personal accolades, which Alex is very much in tune with. A couple of other scores from around the place. Nick Maddinson, friend of the show, obviously came in a few weeks ago. 12 off 38, trying to push things along. Try to take Ben Menenti on and go over the top. You don't mind it, do you?
Love it.
You love it.
This one,
you got out for 12.
Nah,
you love it.
It's his mindset. What he did here, Nick Maddinson. This to me is why I think New South Wales can win it this year. A player like Nick Maddinson recognise, okay, Menenti's come on to shut the scoreboard down. I'm going to hit him out of the game. It's the first morning of the test, the 4-dayer. He tries to hit him out of the game. I love his mindset. Don't change it. He'll win us more games than we lose.
Yeah, calm down, mate. New South Wales winning it. We're not even half a game in.
You've heard it here
for
first.
The whole season. Last one before we take a quick spell and hear from Alex Carey. Ash Chandrasinghe got a bit of publicity about before the game about how patient he is and this, that, and the other, playing for Victoria. The arms went up in the air, the bat was up in the air, and then he heard that sound he didn't want to hear from a leave.
No, we've all done it.
Yeah.
It's a horrible feeling because about halfway down, you've made a decision to leave it.
Yeah.
Then 3/4 of the way down, you know your decision's wrong, but you can't do anything about it. And we've all had that moment. I've done it in the Shield final.
In the Shield final?
Yeah, sort of just left it and I think hit the bottom of a bat and thought, I've got a nick behind. But the funniest one I seen was I was opening with Michael Clark, I think. I think it was it might have been Damien Wright for Tassie. And I could see Clarkie's shouldered arms as the ball was halfway down. And I'm looking from the other end saying, that's going to hit middle stump. The ball didn't move, stayed dead straight, and hit middle stump.
What did he shoulder for?
You sometimes have brain explosions. You get different cues, you pick up the wrong thing. And he walked past, and he said, did that move? And I said, no. He said, I didn't think so. And just sort of walked off. But we've all done it. It's a horrible feeling. Darren Lehman on Australian A Tour just before he was made coach, we went to Ireland, Scotland. He said, if anyone ever gets out leaving the ball, I am taking the bat off you. He said, you're there to hit the ball. Sam was on that tour. Jordan Silk, shouldered arms, bowled. He was blowing up. As he's walked in, he sat the bat next to Darren Lehman and walked in and took his pads off. Darren Lehman had a beautiful gunner more for his son.
Oh, brilliant. And one last one about that Victorian innings, which unfortunately Ash Chandrasinghe was back in the sheds without troubling the scorers. Peter Hanscom, 129 as well. Another friend of the show. We've had Pete on last season, 129 off against Tassie.
He'll be an interesting one, actually. He's getting a lot of runs in the UK.
Played against India last time we went there.
He would be penciled in for the Sri Lankan series. So it's important that he keeps putting big numbers up like this. He'd love to maybe be next in line if a middle order spot comes up. He's a big chance to be in Sri Lanka.
Quick break on Willow Talk, drinks break. Back with Ales Carey. Welcome back to Willow Talk. A little while back, I sat down with Australia's men's test wicketkeeper, Ales Carey, to chat all things keeping, from standing up to Nathan Lyon to hanging back to the big three and everything in between. It's a great chat for aspiring wicket keepers or more seasoned keepers looking to improve their glove work. Here's Alex. Ales Carey, when did you first pick up a pair of gloves?
Oh, school cricket. Yep. I would open the bowling and then I would wicket keep. So, yeah, I think Dad was coaching, so I tried to do everything.
Bat at 4 and, captain as well?
Open the batting.
Open the batting? Yeah. Did anyone else get a go? Who kept to you?
No, I can't remember. No, and that's the thing. I don't really know why wicket keeping started. I think it was just to be involved in the game more. And then out in the backyard, older brother would either bat, Dad would bowl, and then I'd just stand behind the stump. So I think that's probably where it started.
And I'm guessing, given you played in the guts in footy, getting your hand on the ball in footy translated to catching a ball behind the stumps in some kind of roundabout way. So
yeah, we'll go with that. No, I think it's just staying involved in the game. When you're in the midfield, you're running around. When you're wicket keeping, you're always expecting the ball. So yeah, I think it was just being a part of it and being in the mix.
Early wicket keeping idols?
Gilly, yeah, yep. He was a strong one. Sangakkara as well, just the left-hander.
Yep.
And whenever the Sri Lankans came out and played one-day cricket here, it was great to watch. But Gilly for sure.
Were these wicket-keeping idols because they were good with the gloves, or was it because they played a way that you wanted to with the bat and they happened to be pretty good wicket keepers as well?
Oh, I think probably drawn to the left-hand batting style, and then you look in the Greg Chappell cricket warehouse and you're looking at keeping gloves, so then you see what Gilly's wearing. And my first pair, I probably should say with Kookaburra, with the Puma, the orange Puma.
Yeah.
Had the pads as well and loved it. So that was one of the best times, I think, was to look through the catalogue and pick out a pair of keeping gloves. You get them and then you smell them, and that leather is just, sticks with you.
You cricketers are weird. You cricketers are weird. You go home and the thing that gave you happiness as a kid is smelling your hair.
Well, it brings back memories
Yeah,
now
it does.
anyway.
Nice memories as well. It turned out all right too. What is, as a keeper, because you such a unique role, so what does the preparation look like? Have you got like a checklist that you have to catch this certain amount of balls, you have to do certain things that potentially are going to happen in the match with the gloves?
Yeah, I've got a pretty good routine now, and that developed over a number of years. Worked with different coaching styles, different coaches, and I think eventually you probably get to an age where you work out what's for you. And now with our fielding coach, Bora, around CA, Tim Nielsen was a big influencer, and Brad Haddin through the 2019 World Cup were some guys that I work with closely and still speak to about wicket keeping. So you do, though. You get to an age, I think, in most things in life, right? And you, not to say you work it out, but I think you understand what you need, what works for your body, and then you go to work with it. So I've got a pretty set routine, set of drills that I'll do before a game through pre-season that I think work for me.
So like first day of a test match.
Yep.
You don't know, obviously, if you're going to bowl or not, but there's a
Yeah,
big chance that you can bowl.
I know what I'm doing. I'll do the same thing first day. I'll try to catch, unless we're not batting again in the game. Unless we're not keeping again and fielding again in the game, I will catch every morning. And now with Nathan Lyon, he'll bowl every morning as well out in the middle. So I'll make sure that I've got my gear on, and I'll get a nicking yellow bat, and I'll go out in the middle with him and catch as many balls as I can in the warm-up with Gaz, and then I'll go through my set of drills.
Have you got a target of how much you've got to catch?
No. And I'm not. If I don't, for whatever reason, if it's raining or whatever, I'm not too stressed with missing out. It's not something I have to do, but I want to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Gaz and I, I've got a great relationship now, and it is we're first bus to the game out in the middle, and we're into it.
Yeah. So you're not Rain Man with you. I've got to have 112 balls and all that. With Nathan Lyon, how has that combination evolved from when it started? Did something jump out at you when you first kept to him? You thought, wow, I've got to get used to this. And then it's evolved since?
Played against him quite a bit. Lucky enough to play some one-day cricket with Gaz as well. So you do stand behind the stumps. And I think the relationship just evolves, doing it more, talking more, having the confidence to maybe suggest some things. And when you come into the test team, it can be daunting, the fact you're trying to maybe impress or you're thinking about other things. But now it's just, all right, we're going to catch balls, we're talking about the game, we're discussing batters. He gets a bit of a feel for where I set up behind the stumps, which is a big thing for him as well, with some targets down the wicket. But yeah, I think you just, your relationship grows naturally out in the middle in a competition, and you learn a lot about each other. So, and it will still continue to develop, but we're first on the bus, so we get to chat a lot more than others. Yeah,
you talk it through a fair bit. Okay, a technique tip for anyone from a 10-year-old kid who's keeping for the first time all the way through to a 38-year-old bloke whose knees are about to give away and they're just trying to hang on behind the stumps when you're keeping up to the stumps.
I think do it your way, and my techniques changed over the years as well to suit my body type and how I move. I think trying to clear any distractions that come in between the balls and then just focusing wholly on the next ball. Wicket keepers, right, we get judged on probably our errors more than what we do that's good. So letting go of any missed dismissal that does happen in the game of cricket. So let it go, look at it, critique it, don't criticise it, and learn from it. So I think for me, I really enjoy wicket keeping when I'm just worrying about catching the ball and letting go of any other distractions that come in.
Do you watch the ball more intently when you're out there with the bat or when you've got the gloves on? To say Nathan, for instance.
No, I think a bit of both. I think I try to have routines for both. And wicket keeping, I have a bit of a routine where I'll maybe scratch around or scratch my right foot just before I go down, and then it's, watch the ball. And as a batter, it's pretty similar. I might scratch centre and then you switch on. So making sure you do switch off and then switching back on at the right time.
The three fast bowlers, the three famous fast bowlers that you keep to from Australian cricket perspective right now. So Stark, Hazlewood, Cummins. If you go through each of them, are there idiosyncrasies that you have to change your way that you keep to all three?
Yep, totally. Hoff's just your beautiful outswing, seam the ball back in type bowler, and you can set up a little bit wider to a right-hand batter, knowing that the channel is going to come through, and just a beautiful bowler. Paddy's more hit the wicket, seam the ball back, bit of angle with his action. So potentially you're going to challenge off stump a little bit more, which means balls will end up coming sort of over middle stump, in line with middle stump. So trying to position myself where I can get those balls, but then be ready for the nick when the angles sort of change a little bit. And then Starkey, he's a little bit more all over the shop in a nice way. Is the fact that his skill is bowl fast, swing it in, bowl some short stuff. So I think for him, it's getting in a position where I can react to most balls that come down at me. And he's looking to swing the ball back to the right-hander. So naturally it's going to come back down the line. I'll get some more leg side balls with his shape. So positioning myself for all those guys, but then also making sure I've got my slips in the right position for each of those bowlers, which will change.
That was the nicest way of saying, when I keep to Mitchell Stark, I need to wash my clothes at the end of each day. Definitely, because there's a bit going on there.
I've still got to face him in the net, so I've got to be careful.
Yeah. You don't want to upset him.
He's one of the greats. Yeah.
He is one of the greats. Who are you least likely out of those three to stand up to and disrespect?
Starkey.
Have you ever stood up to
any to Greenie?
Yep. How did he take that?
Stood up to Barrel in India.
Yeah.
Greenie didn't like it.
No.
Ness was fine with it, and Baz was fine with it.
But Cameron thought he was quicker.
I think those three, I'll never stand up to the stumps of them.
No, fair enough too. Is there? You are unique. I sit next to a couple of keepers, pretty handy ones, on a regular basis on Willow Talk, and they do love chatting. I don't get that sense about you that you just chat for the sake of talking.
Nah. To the opposition or just generally?
Just generally.
No, I don't. And I think I try to stay in, I guess, a mindset where I focus on my game and then potentially switch off by, listening to the chatterboxes in the slips. We've had a few since I've been there.
Who's incessant at the moment with the chat? Between balls.
Well, if Marnus is at third and Smudge is at second, it's a bit of trouble. And then Uzi's now jumped into the armchair, so Davies now obviously moved on, but he was great for a discussion or some ideas. Smudge just has so many ideas coming to his head.
Yeah.
And then up to the stumps, there might be Trav around the bat or Marnus, and I don't have to waste my words out there with those guys.
No, you don't. But Hads does say that the energy in the field needs to come from the keeper. Would you agree with that summation?
Yeah, I do. I think the energy is also led by the bowling attack, and the effort that they're giving it's infectious as well. So, I've never felt like I've had to drive the energy. I think it comes naturally to this group. We are a very experienced playing group. We're a good playing group. So generally we know what's happening in the game and we can find ways to either get back into the game or stay on top. So I reckon the energy comes naturally. I think for me is when I'm running up to the stumps, moving well with my legs, getting around the guys when you need to, and not sort of manufacturing that. And I don't feel like I've needed to much in this group anyway.
Post-series, and you wicket keepers, you're a bit like goalkeepers in football, a bit different. You do a different role. Do you, with the exception perhaps of one famous case in recent times, do you try to seek out the opposition wicketkeeper and have a yak and chew the fat and swap some stories?
I think naturally it does happen. Yeah, I had a really good chat with Tom Blundell in New Zealand. Great guy, and you just, after the series, you catch up and you have a beer and you just talk about potentially the conditions we both, kept in. And I felt like New Zealand was quite difficult too. Some of the wickets and the ball that swings after and the glare of sight screens and just all these little things that not everyone picks up on. You sort of ask, did you feel that as well? And then I did. So you're like, oh, that's good. So
Just keep a nerd stuff.
yeah,
basically.
that's it.
Yeah.
But no, you do naturally tend to have a chat with him. You respect, I think, the position that they're in. And it's who do we have? Josh De Silva last year. You have a chat to him, and Rizwan loves a chat. So no, naturally you do drift off to the keepers and have a chat.
Well, this forthcoming India series, there's every chance that Rishi Pant's going to behind the stump. So
Yeah.
good luck getting a word in there.
Nah, that's it. He loves a chat. He actually captained me at Delhi a couple of years ago. So
Yep.
he's a great guy, lovely guy, and it's great to see him back playing cricket.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. Unrelated question.
Yep.
Do believe between the brief time between footy and cricket for you, there was a little foray into financial planning.
Yep.
Was there not?
Yeah, there was.
Who would, if you went down that path with that career, who would least need your advice? Who is really good with their money, really switched on?
Pat Cummins, switched on, got a lot of it, wouldn't need much help. Starkey's probably the same. Well, actually, you might need a broker now, mortgage broker. No, I reckon Paddy's all over it. Yeah, yep. He's a smart guy on and off the field. He's into his crypto, which I don't know much about, but
No, that's delving into the unknown,
yeah,
surely.
he should be right. Most of these guys are okay. I think Trav would probably need the most help.
Well, I was just about to say, okay, the total flip side is who is in dire need of a little bit of handy advice.
Nah, not many of the boys, but they're pretty smart. I think Trav loves some toys. He's got a nice shiny car at the moment.
Did he
Nice
lease
house.
it? Did
so
he lease it or
he's
buy
fine.
it?
No, I don't know. But no, he's flying as well, actually. So he's doing well.
Yeah,
But no, the boys pretty switched on. Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, I think Marnus, I think Beck looks after that, which is probably handy as well.
He's too busy.
He's too much coffee. He'd spent a lot of money on coffee.
He's too busy with his bloody bats as
That's
well.
it, yeah. He gets them for free, thankfully.
Ales Carey, thanks for the chat, mate.
Cheers.
Yeah, you could listen to something like that for about 8 days, couldn't you, Hads?
Oh, where's
Keeping
episode 2 and 3?
The art of.
Oh, I love the art. I love the craft. Mate, he's done a great job, especially to Nathan Lyon. Nathan Lyon's tough to keep to. The bounce he gets, 4th and 5th day, was outstanding to Nathan Lyon in India.
Harder to keep to someone like that here or on low turning decks?
Well, it's interesting you say that because traditionally you'd say, oh, it's harder in India, it's turning. But I found Nathan Lyon sometimes harder to keep to on a wearing wicket here in, say, Sydney, where the ball was bouncing high out of the rough, and you got to hold your position, and he sometimes pulls you to the leg side away from the ball with his natural bounce and turn, but you've got to hold it because a lot of his wickets are the outside edge. So that's what Ales Carey's done. Magnificent, the way he's taken the chance off line, but it can be harder here in Australia with the extra bounce.
Really appreciate the time Alex gave us here on Willow Talk, and yeah, if you know of a wicketkeeper, let him know about that chat. It's really, really valuable lessons inside it. To Sundries, only a couple of Sundries. Pakistan, England at stumps on day 2. Pakistan 556. Shah Masood, Salman Agha, Abdullah Shafiq, all tons. England opener Ben Duckett suffered a suspected dislocated thumb, taking the final catch. He didn't bat late on day 2. Ollie Pope decided, I'll open.
That worked.
No, it didn't. He was out to a cracking one-handed catch by Amir Jamal, who was here, obviously. Was it last summer? Yeah, last summer. It feels like 3 summers ago. Anyway, so Ollie was out for a duck in the second over. England, though, recovered to be 1 for 96 at stumps, but that'll be old news by the time you hear this. Tough going in Multan, I think it is.
Yeah.
Tough going over there. Yeah. So you know you've played a test match, I dare say, after 5 days on a deck like that.
Yeah, the one thing that's happened is that they've scored quick. There's still time left in the game, and you'd imagine the way England have been playing, they're not going to die wondering. The interesting thing with this game is it's looking like it'll be a draw. So maybe, but from England's point of view, Ben Stokes would think about it. Do you declare behind? This surface is not going to change that much, and so you declare 100 behind and throw it out to Pakistan to say, okay, are you brave enough to set us a total? You know we'll go for them, but what that does then is allow Pakistan to win the test match. because if England have to chase a total, and they'll chase whatever you put up, so you can use the way England are playing against them, because you don't want to see 500 plays 500, and England aren't going to do that, and Pakistan aren't winning many Test matches. So throw the carrot out there.
What does Jason Gillespie do? What does he instruct his team? What?
Well,
600 off 100?
Well, there's your conversation piece. If I was England, I'm playing on that. And I'm saying I'm declaring behind and throwing it out to Pakistan to say, okay, you bat, you set up a total now, and we 100% will chase them. But with England chasing such a big total, if they can get in front 400 runs, it brings wicket opportunities in, which then with a game that looked like it was going to fizzle out, you might get a result. But if Pakistan just bat out the draw, they're not improving in their Test cricket.
We'll wait and see with all of that. I mean, by the time you listen to this, England could have been bowled out for 182 on day 3, and Pakistan just bat them out of it.
They might back themselves to get 200 in front and give Pakistan nothing to play with.
There you go. By the way, England fast bowler Ollie Stone has been granted permission to head home for a pretty good reason. He's getting married on Saturday. Joe Root says he's rearranged his wedding 3 times because of different tours.
The future tour plan comes out 5 years in advance.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's not like it's jumped out of nowhere.
Well, it's interesting. He's been injured a long time.
Yeah.
Planning a wedding, you don't have a big say in things.
No.
But I remember we were we were engaged for 4 years, I think.
Mm.
But I remember saying to Karina that these are when the tours are on. I'm not in the frame to go as number one, but I might be on these tours. So when you're planning the wedding, you better plan it around them, because I'm going to go and it's going to be an uncomfortable phone call to everyone from you.
So of the 365 options available in a non-leap year,
I got injured.
You left her about 4 options.
No, I got injured.
Oh, you got injured?
And then there was a window.
Ah, good stuff. Yeah, well done. All worked out in the end. You're still happily married.
Very.
International Masters League, new tournament for former players. Can't believe it. You going? November?
I'm done.
No?
No.
Look at the names that are playing. So Sachin Tendulkar is going to captain India. Shane Watson, Australia. Jacques Kallis, South Africa. Brian Lara, West Indies. Kumar Sangakkara, Sri Lanka. And Owen Morgan, England. Runs from November 17 to December 8. Surely.
That's when the summer starts.
True. Yeah. You'll be with Triple M.
I've got to work.
I was going to say you pay for Christmas, but Triple M's going to do that for you. So just before the Big Bash, and you work about 83 nights in a row.
Mate, Dan Christian will be there, won't he?
Dan Christian will be a big star. Big hope for a call up, I dare say. He's in that interesting period where he's still he's officially retired, but he's still officially good enough to play.
Yeah. Well, he's like, you look at some of these names now, been retired for 15 years. DC's been retired for 15 months, so he can bully a tournament like this.
That's Willow Talk, the second edition for this week. Early next week, have a listen to the Paul Blocker-Wilson chat. It's a beauty. He's a beauty, the former international cricketer and umpire. But Hads, have a good weekend. What are you up to?
Actually, my youngest boy's playing his first rep cricket game.
Oh, cool. Who for?
Inner West. So I'll go watch that.
Under
12s.
Under 12s.
13s, actually. He's 12. Yeah, 13s.
Is that Causey Shield? What's it called? Something like that. He's going to have a good time.
He loves it.
You'll be there for every ball?
I'll be there. Keep it real.
Didn't confirm anything right there. Enjoy your cricket, everyone, this weekend. Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.